Welcome to Key Conversations. My name is CJ Norman.
And I'm Katy Norman. We're a husband and wife real estate team, and this podcast is meant to feel like you're listening in on a conversation between friends.
Each week, we share real stories, simple frameworks, and honest advice we'd give our own family. Whether you're thinking of buying, selling, downsizing, or just trying to make smart choices with the home you're living in, we're here to help.
No pressure.
No fluff.
Just clear guidance you can actually use.
All right, welcome back to another episode.
Yay.
Here we are. So today's podcast, I thought it would be good to talk about and gear it towards people that are thinking of selling their home in the next 6 months. So people that are thinking this spring or this summer, kind of getting ahead of the curve there so that things aren't rushed and stressed last minute.
Yeah, we see a lot of people come to us and they're like, oh, I want to sell and kind of like now, but that's not always realistic. I mean, Is it possible? Maybe, but as with everything, if you have a really solid, really great plan and you've thought about it ahead of time, it just all goes way smoother.
Absolutely. So today, the takeaway, my hope for it is that there are some actionable items that people can take to just get ahead of things, because most people, like you were saying, wait until they're like, okay, I want to sell like this month. And then they reach out to their agent, and then their agent is reacting in real time, which there's a lot of moving parts, and it's going to make everything a little bit more crammed, kind of like me in college the night before a test. But it's going to be stressful for the average person. And, us agents, we try to make it as stress-free as possible, but still just with the amount of things that go into it. It is always better to plan ahead. And so planning ahead doesn't cost you anything. There's no cons to it. There's only upside. So we're going to get into that today.
Absolutely. So by the time that you walk away from this podcast, hopefully you know what you can do between now and then in that kind of interim, like maybe I'm not quite ready to talk to a realtor yet phase, but obviously know that you can always talk to us. At any point in time, we're happy to answer any questions. But here are some actionable items that we kind of brainstormed and thought like these would be really helpful in that kind of interim season. So
the first thing, you've decided, okay, I want to sell my house. You probably already thought about where am I going to go, right? So that's actually the first step when thinking about selling your home. Where are you going? Are you doing a new build? Are you just buying a bigger home in the same neighborhood? Are you switching neighborhoods? And if you have kids, school districts. So what's the plan? Like that needs to be kind of crystal clear before we even talk about a plan for selling your home, right?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously you need to know where your next move is going to go. There are, A, B, C, D steps when selling your home regardless, but you kind of want to you want to start with the end in mind of like, here is the goal, we sell on this date, and then work all of that backwards, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you got to ask questions like, do you need to sell and buy at the same time? Or, are you a cash buyer? It doesn't matter when your property sells. Like, is there no time constraints? Can you qualify to buy a place first so that there is no stress or contingencies on selling your place? So all those are important too.
Yeah, a lot of different options. I think that sometimes people don't really think about the fact that there are so many options and there's so many things that we can consider. And when we sit down with you, our job is to try to help you weigh those pros and cons and match them to your life circumstances and help you figure out like what the best option is for you. So, for example, I had this one story where the one that comes to mind is I did have a seller cash offer, was looking at a cash offer, was not the best option for them. We laid out, would you want to get a cash offer? Just like call it all good and move on to the next one. Now, the thing that people don't realize about cash offers, this is a side note, is that you get you are almost always going to get a lot less for your home, which is your largest asset.
I mean, what we used to operate on was we would, for the most part, I mean, this is a very general rule of thumb, but it would be like 60% of what your Zestimate says.
Yeah, maybe in a really great world you get 70, but it's pretty dwindled. So I laid out all the options of like, if you sell in cash, what do you get? If you don't do anything to your house, if you don't want to do any of this maintenance, if you just want to like sell it as in its current condition with the way that it currently looks, like we can do that. And then there's this best case scenario of if you want the most return on investment, so if you put a little bit of sweat equity and a little bit of time and energy into it and a good plan, here's what you can get for it. Here's all the options. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
And what are your goals? And then we can figure all of that out. So
yeah, one of the biggest things that I've seen in recent years is working with a lot of people that are looking to downsize and also people that are looking to upsize. So like those people that have kids, outgrow the house, and also people that are, I have this huge 5-bedroom house with like 3 staircases and I need a Rambler. I just need 1 story. My knees are killing me these days, right? A lot of times people just default to, no, I want to look for my next place first and then we can talk about selling. That's totally fine, but we can, but we shouldn't be waiting to have that conversation until it's like, okay, how do we put an offer in?
Right. Because there are a lot of things to take into consideration. Obviously, you're selling your house, so you want to get, typically, most people want to get the most money for their house. That's one of their big goals.
Yeah.
Not always the case. Sometimes people want the speed and convenience that a cash offer or something offers, but when you're selling your home, you want to think about who's buying your home. So if you're selling a home that would be a perfect family home, and likely your buyer is a young family with kids looking to move into the school district, selling in October, November, December is very unlikely. Like, it's just not the best scenario for you. You want to be listing your house in May, June, July, or somewhere around those time frames, because people are thinking about, if you're listing it in May, they're moving in June or likely, so then their kids can finish out the school district in the school district that they're in if you're switching school districts, and then be ready in the new school district. You're moving in the summertime when things are light and the weather's good and all that kind of good stuff. So that's one of the things. Another one that we think about is lake homes.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about that?
Yeah, let's definitely talk about that. I always tell people that are considering selling on the lake, they're like, when is the best time of year to sell? And I'm like, I like little mile markers on the calendar for things. Like a lot of times people are like, when does spring market start? I'm like, I think essentially the week right after Super Bowl Sunday. For lake homes, I'm like, Cinco de Mayo. That's like your ideal time to have things ready to go on the market.
Right.
Because you're taking, you're getting those, the tail end of the spring buyers, but also the people that are instantly wanting a summer home for the next, even that month, and then the next couple months too. They want to put their boat there, they want to live in it and just enjoy, right?
And if you're listing it in August, like maybe you still get some people that are really excited about it, but you enjoyed it for the summer and they're on to thinking about the school year or, the fall or things like that. They're not thinking about, at least in Minnesota,
right? Not
thinking about like lake. Can you sell it then? Absolutely. Is it the best time? Probably not. Another one is like townhomes. Townhomes are typically, now it depends on the size of the townhome, but if you have a townhome that would attract a first-time home buyer and you're trying to sell that, a lot of leases come up in the spring. So a lot of first-time home buyers, their leases are ending in March, April, May. So listing in February, March is a solid time to list a townhome typically. And obviously all of these things are a little bit dependent. No 2 years are exactly the same. So you want to double check with your realtor, obviously. And obviously we hope that's us. But yeah, I guess those are a little bit of some of the things on timing. I guess a next point that I think is really important of like things that you can do now. You want to go into this next point that we have?
Yeah.
Outlined?
So just in the spirit of planning ahead, there's a lot of paperwork to be done. There's photos to time, making sure the weather's good. There's the turnaround and the edits, and there's all that too. But just at your house specifically, is it ready to go? Like, is it ready to be on the market? Like when the photos come back as edited and all the paperwork is done. If not, you could list your home in any condition. But are there some simple things, or medium to even more complex things that you could or should do depending on your ROI to get your house to be positioned in the best light and to attract as many buyers within that price range as possible? Some of the things, what comes to mind first is there anything, I'm so guilty of this too, but is there anything that is deferred, like deferred maintenance? We have a ton of those at home, but we're not planning to sell anytime soon. But it is good to tackle that sooner than later. You know, even if you're like a year out, you're like, I'm not selling until 2027. Okay, well, how many items, you know, would give a buyer the ick, so to speak, right? What would turn them off? Can you solve them sooner than later so that, like I said, you're not cramming last minute, you know, for this listing? You could reach out to a general contractor, painters, flooring people. I mean, the list goes on depending on what your house needs. And it doesn't cost you anything to get quotes either, right? So like...
Honestly, I would recommend that you get the quote and maybe not do, like, you can do the work depending on what the work is, but if it's a substantial quote, one, you should always get multiple quotes because that'll save you money in the long run. Two...
Real quick, can I just reminisce on, we have an Airbnb in Stillwater, and was it last winter or the winter before that a guest was like, hey, it was the dead of winter. They're like, it's like 51 degrees inside. And we weren't even in town. We were like, oh no. And it was a weekend too, and at night, which is like just accumulation of the worst scenarios. We ended up calling our weekend HVAC guy. Oh, we actually, no. So that guest, we figured it out or something like that for the night, but we had to solve this problem. And so we had, I think it was 3 people out. We had an emergency person come out there, quote us. They were like, you need a new furnace. To me, like 10 grand. And then we had our general contractor who was doing work at another property at the time. And he came back and he said, I can get this done for like $4,900. And then we called our tried and true weekend HVAC guy. And he's like, you need a new blower in this and it'll work just fine. And we're like, okay, how much does that cost? He's like, $400 to $500.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Crazy.
It was,
So if we would have just taken our first bid and run with it, we're at 10 grand, right? For the same end result. So multiple bids, to your point.
Also, on that note, like if you're getting bids on, like putting in a new furnace, for example, it's like maybe you don't need a new furnace. Like don't replace something that isn't broken. We can just factor that into the cost. Like that's totally, depending on the buyer and the market and what it is, what expectations that type of buyer typically has, we can make different assumptions on like we should do this, we shouldn't do this, whether it be painting or countertops or like large mechanical issues and things like that. But don't fix something that isn't broken, but have a quote for it just in case. Anything
come to mind of common things that people just kind of think, we need to fix this, no matter if it's broken or not? Like, something that pops into my mind is just like the main ones, right? Like kitchen, bathroom. Okay, you might update a whole bathroom, and it might not update what decade it's from. It could be a totally fine bathroom, but your preference is different, right? We can even talk about preference too. Like carpet is one of those things that people always say, I should replace the carpets before, listing this. It's like,
and honestly, typically, you like it's kind of one of those on the fence. It depends on your house, and it depends on the market that you're selling to. Typically, if your carpet is really, really old, you should replace it. Yeah. I have had sellers get really upset because the buyer comes in, they rip out the carpet, they put in
right away. Happens
even though they've just put in brand new carpet.
Yeah.
However, I understand being upset about that because it's like I just did this, but at the same time,
I didn't tell you to though.
Right, but at the same time, your house wouldn't have sold as well or as quickly or for as much typically if you didn't do it in the first place. So our job is to help you, and the reason that I say just get quotes and don't do all the work is because our job is to help you figure out, should you do it, should you not, why would you do it, why wouldn't you, is it actually going to affect your bottom line, and if it isn't, why are we going through the stress and the hassle and spending the money doing it?
Yeah. Also, another thing on updates and all that stuff, doing one project typically won't change the outcome of offers that you get. It's kind of a theme, right? So if you have a dated kitchen and you're like, I need new countertops, that's a great start. But if your cabinets look like their grandma's from 1950, people aren't going to look at that kitchen and say, wow, that's a 2026 kitchen. I can't wait to put in an offer. They're not going to pay more for it. So
also, not to toot our own horns, but
yeah, I don't even know what you're going to say. Toot. Yeah.
Toot toot. What I was going to say is that the other thing that we do when we step in and help you with these kind of things is like, okay, so you can renovate a whole kitchen. I had a client that did renovate their whole kitchen, but what we did was butcher black countertops, which are substantially more affordable. However, they looked really nice and crisp and clean and really updated their kitchen from the old laminate that had this weird little lip at the edge countertops that they had before.
The rounded ones?
Yep.
Love it. Bring it back.
The seller actually told me that, like, back in the day, I don't know how true this is, but that you'd put eggs on the countertop and, you know, like, so that things didn't roll off.
Oh, yeah, like the ping pong kind of thing.
Yeah, so that's what that little ledge was for.
Oh, that's...
It could totally be wrong, but
I love it.
I thought that was kind of like an interesting fun fact. If it's actually a fact, it's just what I heard through the grapevine. But anyways.
Our dogs are very happy we don't have that lip, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So... anyways, our job is to help you do that as affordably as possible because this is not your long-term house. So we want to do the things as affordably as possible when we're suggesting the updates and connecting you to people to do the updates.
And good quality. Like, you don't need to get, like, the best of the best in the Twin Cities, the highest priced stuff, but also we're not wanting to go for the landlord special, you know, like those memes of paint going over like an outlet or a light switch or a cockroach or something, you know, like the landlord special. We don't want to do that.
And now, you know, the caveat to that too is if you are in a lake home, let's say you're in a small little lake home that you're selling for $1 million on Lake Minnetonka, and it's a 2-bed, 1-bath, like, you know, we could make updates to it, absolutely. Is it worth any of the updates? Probably not, because someone might be just buying it for the land and tearing it down. Yep. So those are things to consider. Just don't just go into it blind, is, I guess, the moral of that story with the fixes, right?
Yeah, and right, the earlier that a seller talks to agents, the better. There's not going to be any extra pressure. Agents actually prefer to have these conversations far out, because it gives everyone time to kind of plan and get input from the seller. It's not just, I got to sell my home in the next like couple weeks. It's got to be on the market, and I'd really like to close within the next 2 months and go. You know, agents are like, okay, well, there's no real like collaboration there. It's just like, I guess you're just gonna have to trust me on this, and we're gonna go as fast as possible. So,
right. But we can't actually optimize things for a seller if we don't have the time to put in the perfect plan in place.
Right.
Other things, obviously, that are really important that you can do in the meantime are like decluttering, depersonalizing. You really wanted to personalize, so take your photos off the wall, anything that says your name. If there's like specific teams, like I went to the University of North Dakota, so I have like we have some Fighting Sioux stuff. And
how many times do you walk into a house with a buyer and, you know, they look around and then there's like that wall of like 374 photos, you know, of the family's like history for the last 3 generations, and that's all they do is spend their time just like trying to figure out the story of the seller.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
not ideal.
It's fun. Don't get me wrong. Like sometimes I chime in and I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure, you know, and then insert whatever I think, but it takes away from the whole purpose of being there, which you don't want to do as a seller.
Right. Yeah. So depersonalizing, decluttering, so just getting rid of, you know, go through your whole house, like Marie Kondo it. It's one of my favorite things to do every spring anyways, this time of year. You can actually start packing the things that you'll never need, so any memorabilia items that, you know, or those things that you depersonalized, if you need to put them in a box, you can actually start packing those. If you are obviously be certain that you're going to move. Don't go through the hassle of packing things away and stuff.
Unless you should in general, but yeah.
Right. Right. It also allows you to do some of those handyman things like patching the walls and stuff before painting and things like that. If there were photos on the wall that you need to patch holes for. It's
also getting ready for that short stint of a lifestyle, because when your home is for sale, you need to live minimally. Like
absolutely.
You need to have stuff off the counters, like pretty much. I mean, ideally daily. If you're getting showings like every day,
you should look like you live in a magazine. Unfortunately, which is really hard, especially if you have kids or. Yeah. But my biggest tip for that is get a couple laundry baskets. It's the catch-all. You just throw all the stuff in the laundry basket. Throw the laundry basket in your car
or the closet. Yeah.
Or the closet. I mean, ideally the car, so that it's out of your house. So one of the things is like, in a perfect world, your closets are decluttered and organized too, because buyers are going to open those up and they're going to look inside them. They want to see. You also want to take anything that's like really precious to you out of, you know, like you don't want it in plain sight for people to just see, just to be extra cautious. Not that people steal things from people's homes, but you'd rather be safe than sorry.
Sure. And another big reason behind the depersonalizing, the decluttering is because, you know, as you live in a home, you have these conveniences like, oh, this chair or this footrest for the chair, I got 30 plants over there. You know, it's great when you're living in it, but...
Yeah, like we have supplements on the counters, like our vitamins
right.
and things.
Yeah.
We don't want those.
I don't
like,
want to have to reach in the
cabinet
every time, but they should go in the cabinet. You're definitely right on that. But what we're trying to do is like clear the clutter from the buyer's mind and also show the space to be what it truly is.
Right.
Like maximize the space.
You want them to see the house, not your things, and not your life.
Yeah.
Through your family and stuff.
Literally try to have less obstacles.
Yeah. So the goal there is obviously to get your house into the photo ready condition. And we have a list of all this kind of stuff. If you want it, we're happy to send it to you. You can just reach out. As far as like one other thing that I think is really important that you can do that can help you in the long run is if you have documents from when you bought the house, like disclosures or things like that, some of those things end up being really helpful when you're going through the process of selling your home. And some people will have questions about this, or utilities. How much are your utilities costing? What are your favorite things about the home that you want to make sure are highlighted? All that kind of stuff. Any warranties for your mechanicals, appliances, things like that. Just having those all in one place. Some people are that organized, some people are not. So if you need to go digging for them, this is your opportunity and time to go do that.
Yeah.
And then it makes it easier when kind of we step in. But I think that's high level most of the stuff that we really wanted to go over.
It's the big things. Like there's a ton more, but that comes with a conversation with your agent or us, maybe. You know, there's a lot more that goes into it, and that's just kind of part of the process. But yeah, these are things that you can start like today, you know, if you wanted to.
Right.
That you don't need a lot of guidance for.
And obviously when we step in and like the whole thing is that we're going to personalize this to your situation and what you need, because not everybody needs this. Sometimes I walk into a house and it's like, well, I could come in and take pictures tomorrow. This looks great.
Like
and sometimes it's like, oh, we need to get a junk removal company, and that's okay. And we don't judge. We've been in all of them.
Yeah, totally.
And we're here to help you through that process. So like, you know, mom and dad passed away and we got the house and it's full of stuff. What do we do with it? How do we take care of this?
Yeah.
We've got people for that.
Right. Like somebody who specializes in stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Like that's their one thing that they do. Yeah. So
anyways, we hope that you found this really helpful, that these are things that you can, actionable steps and things that you can take into your life in order to get yourself ready to sell your house. Obviously, know that you can reach out to us anytime. And the sooner the better. We're happy to help you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like I said, there's a lot more to preparing for having just a knockout listing that a lot of people just don't do. So we're happy to talk about what that looks like and give you the steps that you need to really crush it this spring or summer.
Absolutely. Any last thoughts on any of this?
That's pretty much it. I mean, unless you want to go into a whole nother episode of the rest of this stuff, but we can do that another time.
We can absolutely do that another time. One of the things that I thought would be fun is if you have questions, please reach out to us. We will answer your questions on the podcast.
Yeah, put them in the comments.
At any point in time, you can put them in the comments. Maybe we'll, at some point, I'm sure we'll have a better system for this. But other than that, what's the fancy sign-off?
Oh, geez. I don't know. I thought it was automated. The fancy sign-off?
Yeah.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
We do have a fancy sign-off now, don't we? We automated that, didn't we?
Yeah. Cool. It is pretty sweet, though. All right.
Well.
Cool. Until next time.
We'll see ya.
If you enjoyed today's episode, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.
We'd love it if you'd share this with someone who'd be interested. And don't hesitate to reach out if you want to connect. We're always happy to chat. Thanks for tuning in.
We'll see you next time.